They said money makes a man desirable. But for Adrian Cole, billionaire tycoon, world-class philanthropist, and a man whose heart beat for loyalty, it didn't buy love. It brought him danger. It made him a target. Adrian had spent his youth building dreams, building businesses, building a legacy meant to be shared with someone who'd love him for the man, not the mansion. So when he met Selina, charming, poised, with laughter that floated like perfume, he believed he'd found her. He married Selina not for beauty, though she had it in spades, the kind that turned heads and stopped conversations, but for companionship, a partner, a wife to weather the storms with. Or so he thought. Her smile sparkled like champagne. Her touch was silk-wrapped sin, her words sweet enough to soften steel. But behind every gentle kiss was a hidden agenda. While Adrian built an empire, Selina built a fantasy with another man. His name was Marco. Chiseled jawline, gym-toned arms, tattoos she traced like sacred scripture. And those eyes, those wicked, honey-brown eyes, too bold, too hungry to belong to anyone trustworthy. He wasn't new. He'd always been there. Before Adrian, during the courtship, and yes, even on her wedding night. That night, after the grand reception glittered to a close and the final toast was raised beneath chandeliers and violins, Selina had slipped away from the honeymoon suite for a midnight stroll to clear her head. Adrian, exhausted from the day's festivities, had fallen asleep waiting, believing she'd return to lie beside him as his wife. But Selina was already lying, somewhere else, in a dark hotel parking lot just blocks away, behind the tinted windows of Marco's sleek black coupe. Her veil discarded like an afterthought, Selina gave herself to the man she truly loved. The same man who whispered into her ear, "You've got him wrapped. Just give it time." And she giggled, lipstick smeared, heart pounding, not with guilt, but with the thrill of the con. Adrian never knew. He simply smiled when she returned at dawn, shoes in her hand, cheeks flushed. "You look radiant," he said. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "It was just the moonlight." But it was betrayal. Quiet, calculated, cruel. And it had only just begun. Selina, cunning as a fox and twice as patient, had never planned for a future with Adrian, only a fortune. The idea of bearing his child? That was never on her vision board. No strollers, no morning sickness, no tiny feet running through his marble-floored estate. Children would complicate the inheritance and dilute the empire. So she guarded her womb like a vault. Birth control pills became her hidden ritual, tucked neatly between lipstick tubes and high-end compact mirrors in her Louis Vuitton purse, always concealed in custom-labeled vitamin bottles. When Adrian kissed her and whispered dreams of fatherhood, she responded with kisses sweeter than honey. But behind those kisses was the chill of strategic calculation. Their romantic nights were performances, satin sheets, candlelight, whispers in the dark. But the moment he slept, she'd roll over, cold as marble, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight, not with love, but with greed. Her goal was never companionship. It was conquest. To bask in luxury, to dine in penthouses, to sparkle in diamonds Adrian paid for, all while slowly erasing the man who gave it to her. And when Adrian started coughing, just a harmless little tickle at first, probably stress, maybe a seasonal bug, Selina's eyes lit up behind a mask of concern. A predator's glimmer. She leaned into the role of the caring wife. Sliced fruits, herbal teas, hand on his forehead. "You're overworking yourself, darling," she said, her voice dripping with sugary venom. But in the quiet of the kitchen, she slipped a little something into his nightly capsules. Switched one of his medications with a mild but cumulative depressant. Nothing too dramatic, just enough to sap his strength, weaken his immune system, and blur his senses. A little nudge, Marco had said when they whispered by candlelight over champagne and deceit. One nudge toward the grave, one step closer to a widow's inheritance. The plan was slow, elegant, invisible. And Adrian, trusting, loving, devoted Adrian had no reason to suspect that the hand stroking his back at night was also pushing him toward the edge of the abyss. But Adrian was no fool. He hadn't clawed his way to the top of the corporate food chain by being naive. Behind the warm eyes and gentle smile was a strategist, a man who read boardrooms like battlefields and people like open books. He loved Selina, yes, but even love doesn't blind a man forever. The warning came quietly. A friend, an old college buddy, had sent him a forwarded voice message, accidentally intercepted, never meant for his ears. And yet, there it was. Static, then laughter, then her voice. Selina's voice, silky and venom-laced. "Just a few more weeks," she purred. Marco chuckled in the background. "He's practically halfway gone." "I want it all," she whispered. "The cars, the shares, the real estate, the penthouse in Dubai, everything. Once he's out of the picture." A pause. Then Marco. "And what about Adrian?" Selina. "Oh, baby, he won't even make it to the new year." It hit Adrian like a frostbite to the soul. She wanted it all, and she wanted him gone. But Adrian Cole didn't confront. He calculated. He didn't rage. He reinvented himself. So he played along. The coughs grew more dramatic. The steps are more sluggish. Doctor visits staged. Prescriptions filled but never taken. He replaced the pills she tampered with, kept a private physician on speed dial, and began documenting everything. Then came the masterstroke. Blindness. He announced it over dinner, voice low, trembling. "The doctors, they said it's spreading. I've lost my sight." Selina gasped, hand flying to her lips. A tear slid down her cheek. Perfect, rehearsed, Oscar-worthy. "Oh, Adrian, I'm so sorry," she said, pressing a kiss to his forehead. But even as she reached for his hand with one, she was texting Marco with the other. "We're almost there." And Adrian? He sat in silence, unmoving, letting the moment sear into his mind. He couldn't see her, not officially, but he felt everything. The lie, the shift. The darkness wasn't in his eyes, it was in his home. Days passed. Then weeks. Selina's mask, once flawlessly glued, began to slip. Little by little. Designer bags appeared like weeds. Chanel, Dior, Balenciaga. The guest room transformed into a private studio. Selina now had a personal fitness journey, she said, hiring a trainer to keep her on track. Enter Marco. Brazen. Shirt always too tight. Smile too smug. He moved into Adrian's home like a cockroach in velvet, posing as Selina's wellness coach, jogging shirtless in the mornings. Loud, fake laughter echoing through marble halls. They thought Adrian couldn't see. But Adrian saw everything. And soon, the blind man would open their eyes. Blindness had made him invisible. And that was his power. Selina no longer whispered around him. She spoke freely. She laughed with Marco in his presence, parading him through the halls like a trophy. She thought her husband, a billionaire titan, had become a harmless, blind ghost haunting his own mansion. But ghosts see more than the living ever suspect. Adrian had turned the very walls into his allies. Long before her mask fell, he'd installed a state-of-the-art surveillance system, disguised as vintage decor, nestled behind air vents, hidden in antique clocks and faux smoke detectors. The renovated basement office? Not abandoned. It was his war room, his sanctuary, the heart of the storm. There, behind encrypted monitors and thick stone walls, he watched. He watched as Marco wrapped his arm around Selina's waist and kissed her in the living room, where Adrian once proposed. He listened to them sip his whiskey, mock his feebleness, and plan the renovation of her mansion once the body was cold. Selina thought she was living her villain origin story, but Adrian was already writing the ending. And then, the final act. A Sunday morning. Warm sunlight. Freshly brewed betrayal. Adrian staged his collapse, dramatic enough to invite whispers, subtle enough to avoid suspicion. His staff, loyal to a fault, played their parts with precision. The ambulance arrived in under 4 minutes. The hospital room was bleak, sterile. Tubes snaked from his arms. Monitors blinked with rhythmic dread. Doctors used hushed tones. His lawyer was discreetly flown in. Rumors of Adrian Cole's impending death spread like wildfire through corporate circles. Selina arrived hours later, not with flowers, not with prayers, but draped in black silk, designer sunglasses perched atop her flawless face, lips painted a shade too red for mourning. Already grieving? Number already greedy. She sashayed into the room like a widow with a script, cried on cue, kissed his forehead with lips that had just kissed another man. And when no one was looking, when the world believed he was unconscious, fading fast, she leaned close and whispered, "Just sign the papers, baby. Let me take care of everything now. You can rest." She slipped a bundle of documents onto his lap. Power of attorney, asset transfers, a deed here, a signature there. Everything she needed to become queen of the empire. She came not to say goodbye, but to make him sign. The papers lay neatly on the hospital tray. Legal documents dressed in betrayal. The property deeds, the power of attorney, the will amendment. Each one carefully prepared, drenched in lies, forged in greed. Selina leaned in, her perfume heavy and sweet, like poison in a velvet bottle, her voice a lullaby for the damned. "But Adrian," she cooed, lips brushing his ear, "you've always trusted me. It's just a signature, for peace. So you can let go." She guided the pen to his fingers, gently closing them around it like a nurse would to a child. Her eyes gleamed with anticipation, seconds away from a stolen empire. Adrian's head turned ever so slightly, eyes still closed, breathing shallow, a masterclass in deception. She smiled wide now, the kind of smile thieves wear when they hear the safe click open. Victory was just a scribble away, but then he opened his eyes. Not one, both. Clear, sharp, alive, not a flicker of confusion, not a tremble of weakness. Selina froze. Her heart stuttered. Her breath hitched. The pen dropped from his hand like a gavel. "I may be blind in one eye," he whispered, voice like ice cracking over fire, "but I see better than ever now." He sat up, slow, deliberate, peeling off the hospital monitors like a king shedding chains. Selina stumbled back, a gasp caught in her throat. "No, this isn't..." Before she could spin another lie, the door burst open. "Marco!" Panic carved across his face. "Selina! He knows!" But he didn't finish. 2 suited security men stepped in behind him, followed by 2 police officers, badges out, eyes sharp. Marco turned to run, only to be tackled into the hallway floor. Cuffs clicked. Rights were read. Adrian rose fully now, tall, regal, wrathful. A man resurrected, a husband betrayed, a billionaire wronged, but never outplayed. He looked down at Selina, who now stood trembling in designer heels she didn't pay for. "Everything you touched, every lie, every theft, every whisper, I heard it all," he said. "You tried to bury me before I was dead. Now watch what happens when I rise." Selina's lip quivered, her confidence gone, her power ash in her hands. And then he walked past her, without a flinch, without a glance, as if she were never more than a passing shadow in his story. "You thought I was dying?" Adrian's voice cracked, not from weakness, but from the thunder he'd held back for far too long. "No, Selina, I was watching. Every betrayal, every kiss, every lie." Tears welled in her eyes, not born of guilt, but of raw, cold panic. She'd been caught in the act, and the audience had never been more silent. "You wanted everything, Selina," he continued, each word heavy with heartbreak and fire. "But you forgot one thing." From his coat pocket, Adrian pulled out a weathered mahogany box, ornate and old as legacy itself. With a slow, deliberate motion, he opened it and revealed a seal, ancient, gleaming, marked with the Cole family crest. The air changed. "This," he said, holding it up between them, "is the key to everything, every deed, every share, every account. Without this seal, your signature is worth nothing. Selina reached for it, desperate. He stepped back. This seal, Adrian said, his gaze piercing, only responds to truth. Something you could never offer. The truth hit her like glass shattering. She screamed. A primal sound. She begged, bargained, collapsed to her knees in silk and shame, mascara running like ink from a ruined script. But Adrian, he didn't flinch. He turned, and with shoulders squared, head high, he walked, past the officers, past the betrayal, past the ashes of a love she never truly gave. Out of the hospital, out of her reach, out of her life. The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss, a whisper of finality. And Selina? She was left alone, with nothing but echoes. Months passed. The headlines had their feast. Billionaire betrayed. Wife plots murder for fortune. Love turned lethal. But Adrian Cole, he chose peace over vengeance. He donated the bulk of his wealth to orphanages, shelters, to the broken and the forgotten. The empire built in silence was now speaking for the voiceless. The mansion that once echoed with betrayal, demolished. The ancient seal that held the power of dynasties, retired, locked away. Selina and Marco, arrested. Attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy. Their love story ended not in riches, but in courtroom whispers and steel bars. And Adrian? He chose life. A small lakeside cabin, a journal, fresh air. He smiled again. He laughed, softly, like someone learning how. And for the first time in years, he slept without looking over his shoulder. Because sometimes, yes, love blinds. But in Adrian's case, pretending to be blind helped him see everything. Like, share and tell us how you would have handled this situation if you were in Adrian's or Selina's shoe. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on our subsequent stories.